What's going on, beautiful people, and welcome back to Piece of Happiness 101. And today we have another phenomenal video for you guys. A young husband received a call from a local hospital. The local hospital was calling to inform him that his wife just got in a terrible car accident. And as they were telling him everything that went on within the accident, he felt devastated. And of course, for you to get a phone call stating that your wife got in a terrible car accident to the point where they don't even know she's gonna survive, this is terrifying. But the second thing that was terrifying the most for him is because of the things she said to her before she left the house. The one thing that we can all agree on, there's different type of relationships. And regardless of the type of relationship, for you to really understand exactly what the relationship is all about, you need to argue. And I know a lot of us might not really go with that idea because of the societal fairy tales, but the reality is simple. If you're gonna be in somebody's life, at some point, you guys are gonna argue. Because at the end of the day, argument could be beneficial to a relationship, especially if you're trying to have a long-term relationship. Reading about such difficult story, the two questions that came to mind were how important it is to argue in a relationship and how are we supposed to argue. Let's talk about that. The first thing that we definitely need to pay attention to is that it is important to argue. Yeah, it is important to argue in a relationship. In order for you to get to know somebody, it's going to require you to go through the bridges of argument. Because not everything is gonna be fun. If you want a fairy tale relationship, whatever you see on TV or whatever you see on social media, maybe you won't probably argue at all. But if you want something real, something that's authentic, something that's probably gonna be there longer than you expected, you're gonna definitely need to think that at some point, you guys gonna argue. As important as argument is, there's one thing that I feel like a lot of people forget. Despite the fact that you need to argue in a relationship, you also need to know why are you arguing and what kind of argument you need to have. The first argument that I feel like everybody should really pay attention to is to have respectful arguments. Yes, you need to have respectful arguments. Why do you even need to be respectful within an argument? The two of you are gonna be frustrated to the point where you might not even really think about what you're saying within the time. Depend to the extent of what your argument is based on. Sometimes we might not even pay attention to what we are saying to each other to the point where we could actually regret whatever we said. Just like the situation that happened between the husband and the wife. Yes, she got in a car accident, but what was devastating for him was because of what he said to her. And after everything was done, the one thing that was troubling him the most is the fact that he told her that he never wanted to either speak or talk to her ever again. These are words that you don't want to say to somebody, especially if you happen to find out the person got in a terrible car accident, which means that person, you'll never be able to say goodbye to them. You'll never be able to say, I'm sorry. You'll never be able to try and fix everything that you said because the last words you said were, I don't want to see you ever again, or I don't want to talk to you ever again. Sometimes we don't think about what we say. Sometimes we don't think about exactly what's going through our mind, especially if we are completely frustrated. We're gonna say things just because we are mad. And sometimes that's why it is important to have respectful argument. You need to have respectful argument. You need to mind every word that are coming out of your mouth, because at some point, no one knows if those words are not gonna be the last one you're gonna tell the person. So yes, it is important to have respectful argument. The second type of argument that we definitely need to think about is constructive argument. A lot of people get to argue. I believe that I've actually spoke about that a few times. The reality about it all is that if you're gonna argue, know why you're arguing. If you're gonna argue, know why you are arguing. Don't just argue because of the little things that you see and you start an argument about it and you get to argue about it every time you see it because you realize it's a regular pattern. If it's not something that's actually damaging the relationship, you don't really need to think about it. And if it's not basically building the relationship, it's not important to even argue about it. And if you want to build a relationship to the point where your argument is going to help, constructive argument is very important. And by you being able to not only face the truth, if you are the one at fault, admit the fact that you did something wrong and trying to move on from it, this is basically the best way to go. Because sometimes, despite the fact that we are completely in love with the person, we're gonna argue. And sometimes, despite the fact that we truly love the person, there are words that could probably get out. There are words that would probably get out that we wish we didn't tell the person. And that's basically part of the arguments. But is argument definitely necessary in a relationship? Yes, 100%. You're gonna need to argue, like I said, have respectful argument and have constructive argument. With those two things, there's good possibility that you're gonna build your relationship and understand each other a little bit more. The third one is knowing if an argument is worth it or not. Knowing if an argument is worth it or not. If you, for instance, find out that your person been cheating on you, or if the person been doing things to show you that they don't want to be in a relationship, instead of doing the process of going into a full argument, probably even trying to fight each other to the point where you don't even want to be around each other, it's best to just let it go. Do not do argument that you understand are not worth it. Don't even go with the process of trying to argue with somebody knowing that that person is not even listening. At that point, if the relationship is not working, if the argument is becoming a constant thing, love is not really into that relationship, just pack your bags and leave. Don't even worry about it. Don't even try to fix it. Some stuff are not fixable. Just pack your bags and leave. Before you argue, make sure the relationship is worth the argument. Don't just do it because you feel like this is something you have to fight for. My side note is, if every day you find yourself arguing with the person, fighting with the person, this is no longer a relationship. If there's no way for you to fix it, just put it on the side. Do not argue if it's not constructive. Do not argue if it's not productive. Do not argue if it's not worth your relationship. And definitely do not argue if it's not respectful. Because if someone really loves you, despite the fact that you're in the middle of an argument, they'll always make sure that what's coming out of their mouths is not gonna affect you to the fullest. So yes, words gonna fly out. Yes, feelings gonna be into it. Yes, emotions gonna probably take the two of you guys, but by doing it respectfully, by doing it in a constructive way, by doing it because it's worth doing it, and trust me, it'll help you get in a better place with your relationship. Thank you so much for watching. We definitely appreciate each and every comment, all the likes, all the sharing. We appreciate everything you've been doing. If you are new to the channel, feel free to look around, see what you like, and do not forget to subscribe. If we've missed something in the process, feel free to comment below. Let us know exactly what you think about the video. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.